We are live. Joe, thanks for hanging out. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is an idea we've had for a little bit, and the concept with Mojo Live is really to do live coaching calls where we bring in experts to answer your questions, talk about topics of it. Mojo has been life-changing for me. I know the message has been life-changing for many of you, and this is just a plane of knowledge that's flat out not in the mainstream. Before my experience with this man right here, I hadn't really been exposed to anything like this before. And so Mojo Live is really just a way for us to provide some more interactive support with you. We'll cover topics and questions that I'll show you how you can do that at the end of this call. But for this first one, just kind of asked around a few members what they'd want us covered, what questions they had, and a theme came back that really hit home with me, and I think with a lot of people, which was about choosing what you want and defining success. I know many of you probably already know the guy that's on this call. If not, you've probably heard his voice coaching me in Mojo. So joining us today is Joe Gianni. Joe is he probably won't like me saying this, but one of the top executive coaches in the world, and president and CEO of a global top 20 training firm, and been an incredible mentor to me. Joe, thanks for taking the time to hang, and I guess let's dive in. What does it mean to be successful?
Yeah, I love it. So first off, thank you, Sean. And I want to thank everybody that's joined us from the Mojo community today. It is, as I've shared with you through the app, it is truly always my distinct honor and pleasure to work with and to be chosen as one of your advisors, as a professional and hopefully personal coach as well. We've got some explosive ground to cover today. I'm really excited about the topic, the question that Sean had shared with me and now with all of you. And that is, what is success? How do we define success? Because that's what all of us are after. That's why we all enroll in Mojo. We're looking to achieve more, accomplish more, grow more, become more, have more. So it's an exciting subject matter for us to talk about today with this first question. I also just want to take a second and remind us or share with us that Mojo stands for an acronym. And that acronym stands for Mindset Optimization equals Journey Optimization. And that's what Mojo actually stands for. A lot of people, of course, we love the name because you either have your Mojo on or your Mojo off. Oh my God, she's got Mojo. You know, the key and the whole premise of Mojo is really understanding why at times in our lives have you and I been on fire to accomplish what it is that we want out of our lives, and other times where we can't seem to even get out of our own way. That's why choosing the name Mojo, trademarking the name Mojo, was very important to us in the early stages of developing the app. Mojo truly is a one of a kind. And Mojo really is built upon a field of knowledge, as Sean just said a few moments ago, that really is missing from the mainstream vernacular, in that most people really never get formally developed and trained on success. And therein lies what this whole journey that you have been on with myself, Sean, and all of us together through the Mojo app. In particular, what Mojo is designed to do in all of our conversations, and myself as an executive coach to many different companies throughout the world, is to really help you and I to discover how to unlock ourselves and get out of our own way so that we can do the things that we need to do in order to achieve the next level of success, the next level of things that we want to achieve. And I say it that way, the next level, because 98% of the people that are here today, you already are extraordinarily successful in different areas of your life. But we become part of the Mojo community because we want to be more. We want to become more. And ultimately, through that, we want to have more for ourselves and for the people that we love and care about, our families, extended families, and friends. So Mojo is really all about designing a mind structure, because that's really what it is, a mind structure that enables you and I to become unstoppable, so that you and I can move into the zone and actually have the conscious understanding of the zone so that we never leave it again. Or if we do, we leave it temporarily because we know how to get back to it. And so I love the question that Sean asked of me, which is defining success. What is success? And it's a great question because people always ask me about that, especially early on in their coaching process. And what I've come to see and understand and really have crystallized is that having a definition of success is really priceless. And simply put, success really is and truly is the progressive realization of whatever it is that you decide you want to do, have, or achieve. That's it. I say the word progressive realization because a lot of times in society, there's all these misnomers about success. He or she was an instant success, right? It's not, what you know, but who you know, right? But everybody knows that if you get somewhere because of who you know, it's only a matter of time if you're not the guy or the gal that they get rid of you, right? But success is really a progressive realization because it's not instant. We have to really, truly develop ourselves in order to accomplish and achieve the things that we want out of our careers and out of our personal lives, all the different aspects of our personal lives, our relationships, our finances, our physical well-being, our spiritual evolution. All of those things is a progressive realization. We talk a lot about that through the app. I'm not going to get deeply into that today. But what I want us to see is that I use the words it's a progressive realization because it's not instant. And the most important thing I want you to see is that success is defined by you. It's not defined by your best friend. It's not defined by your manager or boss. It's not defined by a mom or a dad or a parent or a grandparent even. Success is defined and decided by you. And once you and I understand that, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, but once you and I understand that, we have the first underpinning, if you will, or building block of a Mojo mindset. You see, when you stop and you think about it, if you and I begin to understand that success is decided by you and I, we begin to really understand the treasure, the gift of what you and I have received. And it's called the gift of life. And the very essence of that gift is your and my power to create. You and I have an innate ability to envision into the future of what we want to do, where we want to go, who we want to become, and actually have the ability to make that happen. I don't know about you, but I remember as a young man being helped to see that. It was a major breakthrough because no one ever spoke to me like that. Nobody. Until I met a few people that really had a specialized knowledge, mostly my mentor, which many of you, again, if you've participated through the app and you're far enough into the lessons, you know I speak very detailed about that relationship, a relationship that I've treasured for decades and still to this day is my mentor and coach. But where I want us to see is that you and I are the creators of our destiny. Chance is not. You and I have been given that gift of life. The essence of that gift is our power to create. Remember something. Dogs can't create. Cats can't create. Orangutans can't create. But you and I, as human beings, we have the power to create. We have the ability to look into the year ahead and decide in advance what we want to accomplish. And when a man or a woman begins to get armed this way, with this level of a mind structure, this fundamental piece, it begins to open them up to a world of endless possibilities. Just the fact to realize and recognize that me personally, am the maker and the molder of my destiny. I choose. Talk to me, Sean, as I say that. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Not that you've ever heard me say that before, or anybody
no,
else.
Never. But I never get sick of it. It's funny, just to touch on the open talking about really being able to go in and out of that quote unquote in the zone. And you talked about the acronym that Mojo stands for. And it's funny, on the drive in this morning, a song came on that I've heard a million times, Power by Kanye West. And this lyric, I noticed this lyric that I hadn't really noticed before, but it was really fitting for the conversation today. He said, I had treasures in my mind, but couldn't open up my own vault. And I was just smiling coming in, thinking about that, because I think that's so true. And I know it was true for me before really being exposed to this. And in terms of the power to create, I think that's such a powerful starting point, because I know this for myself. I know this from talking to a lot of other people. A lot of people don't know what they want. And when you ask that question, and I've certainly been in that place where you don't know what you want, and something that's, consistently helped me to be more decisive in that area is really reaffirming that fact that I can come up with something and create that vision. I could set a goal in the future, and I have the power to do that. And I think so often for myself, a lot of that indecision came from really a place of not maybe really believing that's possible. And so you get it caught in this web of, I could maybe do this, but that's not really that realistic, or this probably wouldn't work. And then you just end up in this loop of indecision that I don't really know what I want. And I think the power to create
Amen.
as a concept is such a powerful antidote to that.
Yeah. And I say amen to what you just said. And what I mean by that is that letting, everybody in on a secret. And that secret is that many times you'd be amazed at how many times people don't really know what they want. Or if they have an idea of what they want, it's hazy. It's shades around it. And when I'm working with people on that development process of building a Mojo mindset, unstoppable mindset, by the way, the very first thing I hope them to see, and you remember me doing this even with your and my conversations, is to let them know it's okay. It's okay to not know yet. What's critical is that we begin to understand that we have the power and also the personal fiduciary responsibility to choose. And that in of itself begins to set people free. That in of itself is what begins to unlock people. And that's what's so cool about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's eye-opening.
Our Creator doesn't mock us. We don't get thought impulses. We don't get a vision of where we want to go in a year or 2 years from now, or what we want to accomplish, without also being given the innate ability to make it happen. That's just the fact. And there's a million stories about people coming from complete, utter, disruptive, dysfunctional backgrounds to become unbelievable, massive success stories. And so there's the proof, without, again, going deep into a big tangent there. But what I want us to see, and see very clearly, is that people that become doctors, they become doctors because at one point they began to think about becoming a doctor. People that become engineers because at one time they began to think about becoming an engineer. People that become leaders of divisions and departments and businesses, they become the leader because at one time they began to envision being the leader. People that become the number one service rep or the number one sales rep in their company or in their industry become that because at one point in time they begin to think about that. People that become great mothers, I'm not talking decent or okay, great mothers. We've all hopefully had some of that, but if not, you've met some of that. Or great fathers. They become great fathers, great mothers, because at one time they began to think and envision that. People that become the best friend, the real capable, awesome friend. Those people become those awesome people friends because at one time they begin to think about becoming a great friend to other people. There is no chance. Each and every one of us is who we are, where we are, and attracting a certain level of result in our lives, not based on chance, not based on circumstance, but based upon what you and I at one moment in time dared to dream about and then fixate on and not stop until it became a progressive reality. Talk to me as I'm saying that.
Yeah, I think
Sorry, I didn't mean to get that intense, but I'm passionate about it.
You can't help it.
It's just
you can't help it.
Watch people get awakened like that, right?
Yeah, no, it really is cool to experience, maybe even cooler to watch. But yeah, I think that is a starting point of that kind of dream, and starting to really think about what it is that you want. It's such a cool thing to start to see the progressive realization of it once you've set that as a dream or as a goal, to feel the progress you're making on your way towards it. And it's amazing how quickly that can happen. But you mentioned something, and I wanted to just drill down on a little bit, which was a lot of people don't know what they want, or if they do know what they want, it's hazy. It's not necessarily crystallized yet. So I'm curious, and I think it would be helpful maybe to talk about what happens when it is crystallized, just to underline the importance of that aspect of it, because I think that's often understated.
Yeah. Well, again, for the sake of the discussion today and the amount of time for us today, I don't want to go too deeply into a deep dive, but I think, again, you bring up a great point. I'll give you a story. So I have a gentleman I befriended years ago, a very good friend of mine. His name is Gene O'Donovan, and Gene built a company years ago called Montana Mills Bread Company here out of Rochester, New York. And when I met Gene, he had a dream, and his dream was to become an entrepreneur, and he had shaped and refined his career journey and his family journey to make that happen. What happened when I first met him is that it was very hazy. Like he just knew he wanted to start a business, but he had no idea what business it was. And I began to have many conversations with him. And at one moment in time, the idea actually came from him, from his wife, who had also bought into the dream. And she had the idea about, we should start this bread company. And lo and behold, they built it into a multi-million dollar company. And ultimately, the company was bought out by Krispy Kreme. But one of the reasons why I tell the story is that Gene would always tease and kid me, because I would say, Gene, what exactly do you really want? Or what exactly happened? I was always do that with people, and I don't do it on purpose. I do it because it's how my mind is trained. It's about clarity. The real extra gears, the real extra horsepower that all of us have lie in being specific. The mind cannot focus on accomplishing something or figuring out solutions to things if it has a hazy idea of what it is that you and I are consciously thinking about. It has to really sharpen that to a laser focus. And again, that's part of the reason why success is a progressive realization. Years ago, when I'd run lots and lots of training, formal training meetings, I would talk to people, visualize it like when you start to think about the life you want to have, visualize it like the old camera lenses where you would turn the camera lens back and forth. It'd be out of focus, but you'd work it back and forth, and all of a sudden, boom, it would be clear. And that clarity came from just staying focused on the object that you were looking for. So it's the same exact thing. The mind cannot come with solutions and ideas and organization of plans without that clarity. So that's my simple answer at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful. And I think that's so true. Just, I know for me, focusing on it over a period of time, your mind just starts to really dial in. And I love the focusing the camera lens analogy, because I think it's so true. It starts to get clearer and clearer what exactly that looks like, and feels like so much is unlocked once you see that very clearly.
Yeah. The other big thing is people will say, Joe, successful people, do they ever get unfocused? And the answer, of course, is yes, they do. They get unfocused. But what they have is an uncanny ability to immediately go back and focus on what it is that they want. And so it's not that they never lose focus. We all lose focus. We get distracted. We have personal situations pop up or whatever, or just distracted by something else going on, even in our careers. But when it comes down to whatever our goals and objectives we set in life, in order for us to build a truly abundantly successful life, we have to slowly begin to decide in each area of life what exactly it is that we want out of that area of life. What do I really want out of my career? If I'm going to potentially someday get married, what is it that I really want out of that marriage? If I'm going to befriend and become friends with people, what is it that I really want out of being a friend and having a friend? I know it sounds almost a little like disruptive because most people are never spoken to that way. But the more you and I see people who are highly accomplished in different areas of life, I assure you, it's not hazy. Whatever it is that they accomplished, whoever it is that they became, happened from that specificity. And we'll go more into that as we talk and ask other questions in future meetings. But another big thing about success and defining success that I want to take us to today is something that I think will be extremely valuable and insightful for everybody. And again, we talk a little bit about it in the Mojo app as well. But what I have observed and noted in my lifetime is that the happiest people I've ever met in my life are men and women who are constantly living in a state of creation and recreation. In other words, they understand the power and the importance of using their creative imagination to keep envisioning the life they want to have. And when they accomplish something in an area of life, to recreate a new vision in their life. And when I step back, and I'm not talking about yesterday, I'm talking about for a long period of time, decades, and I meet scores of people. And obviously many times, and many people, they don't even know what I do for a living, let's say. But I can tell when I see their eyes dancing just in talking to them, when I see them on fire about life, we all know what I'm talking about. When I meet men and women that are in that state of mojo, it's because they're in a state of creation. They might not say that to you and I. They might not speak that way because they're not a formal trainer. But that's what they are doing. And I think that's so important to understand. So often when I think about executive coaching people, many times I have to help with lots of different things. And sometimes people, they're out of sync. They might even be a little depressed. But one of the things that I begin to do is as I begin to sequence them through the steps to build the Mojo mind structure, I begin to just simply talk to them about where we're at today, which is, what is it that if life were to be perfect, if I was a wizard and could tap 3 times on your arm and point forward and say, this is what you're going to be able to do or have or achieve in the next year, 2 years, 3 years out, what exactly is it? When I start to even speak to them that way, you'll see at first they might not know, or many times they do know, but their eyes begin to light up. And that's because it is a fundamental building block. There are very few people, this is what we mean by the plane of knowledge, that understand what I am speaking to all of us about right now. They do not understand the significance, the importance of their creative faculties, their ability to imagine, their ability and responsibility to create and recreate. Talk to me as I'm saying that.
Yeah, I totally agree. A quote from Elon Musk popped into my head as we were talking about that. He said, we have to be excited about the future. We have to do things that make us want to live. We can't just be about solving problems all day. And we have to have something to look forward to. And yeah, obviously with the businesses and things that he's built, and even the way he goes about them is not necessarily all about even just solving problems, but to do things that he's excited about. Like, this would be a cool thing to do. And obviously it's worked out very well for him in terms of what he can accomplish. But I think that's so true with everybody. And there's just a different look in somebody's eye when they're excited about their future. They're excited about the things that they're working on and they're building towards.
You just said something very powerful, very profound. And that is this, that you can see it in their eyes because it is the key. It is the combination. It's the beginning of that key. And most people, if you see their eyes are dull, you can see it. The more you and I, people like us, we evolve and keep developing ourselves around this type of specialized knowledge. You'll meet people and you'll see the moment you start talking to them, maybe not at first, but the minute you start talking, their eyes start to dance, and especially if you're in an area where of something they're passionate about, and then other people, no matter what you talk about, their eyes are dull and they're not dancing at all. And it's because their dream machine has been broken. Their creative imagination has been stifled along the way. And many times that happens early on in childhood. You're just a dreamer. Or, wow, you're never going to accomplish that. And all the naysayers. And one of the biggest travesties of life is people crushing other people's dreams before they even have time to incubate, before they even have time to begin the progressive realization. So that's the first thing I just wanted to comment on and speak to. But the other is the example of Elon Musk. When we talk about some of these icons across different sectors, whether it's business or athletics or whatever, the one thing that I want you and I to see, again, together, amongst the most accomplished people is the enormous burning in their belly because they dream in maximums rather than in minimums. And when people's eyes are dull, most people, when I begin to talk to them about just starting to dream, they tend to dream in minimums rather than dreaming in maximums. If I say, what's the smallest goal I can set this year in my relationship, I'm not going to be really fired up about that. What's the least I can accomplish this year in my career, this month at work? I'm not going to be pretty on fire about that. And in fact, most people are actually doing that by default, by accident, because they have a mind structure that's not built around the principles of what you and I study together, all of us, and what it is that I'm speaking about right now. They dream in minimums not because they want to, but because they have to, because it's the way their mind is built to date. But we know we do not have to remain a prisoner of our own thoughts. We can adopt new insights, new ways to think, new ways to understand. And that's what Mojo is all about. That's why the importance of the repetitiveness, to keep listening over and over again. You said something a few minutes ago. You said, yeah, it's amazing, it never gets old. I could tell, and anybody watching can see, when I begin to speak that way, it lights all of us up. And it lights us up because it's the language of the soul. The human soul is born to soar. I'm not saying that that's a nice thing. I'm not saying that, oh, that sounds so good. No, I'm saying it because that's the fact. The most nasty, the most broken people you'll ever meet is when that soul is locked. And that's why it's the combination. Talk to me as I'm saying that.
I think that's so true. And there's a couple of different areas that you see this play out. I think one is in a sort of a leadership position. Nobody gets excited about, we're going to be 5% better next year. They get excited about reinventing an industry, or we're doubling the business, or tackling some sort of mission that they buy into. Those are the things that really get people on a team to lock in and to be excited about it. Us growing profits by 5% next year, everybody's eyes glaze over with something like that. It doesn't get you excited enough to really push through and grow the way that you're going to need to in order to do that.
It's a great point, and that's because, again, by accident, most people either they fail to even dream and envision, or if they do it in minimums. And yet there's no excitement, there's no thrill, there's no zeal when we're moving in minimums. People get conditioned. I remember being a young kid in high school and having a job at a grocery store. And the manager of the department hired a new guy, and I was already in the department for probably a year and a half through my high school years. And within about 6 months, he promoted this guy named Tom to become the night crew chief. And I was like, well, I don't get it. Why'd you promote him? He's only been here 6 months. I've been here 2 years. And I remember saying it to him. And he said, Tom makes things happen. And it was the very early beginnings of life experience and beginning to really shape my thinking. And at that time, it's not like I figured it all out or I had a breakthrough. But I will tell you this. I began to soul search in a very limited way because I was a high school person. But I definitely remember saying to myself, how do I think? How do I move? And I went to work every day. I know nobody else has ever done this their whole life, but I did back in high school. It was like, what's the least I can do this week, this hour, so I can trick this company into paying me? And I'll never forget it. And the reality is that having this young man named Tom come into that department, who was a wonderful young man, I've lost touch with him, but wonderful young man, he was amazing. And I remember actually saying to him, Tom, you're always like cranking. And he was. He made me look like I was standing still all the time. And so I asked him, I said, why do you move like that? He goes, Joe, I just come to work to work. He goes, and I have a competition with myself. I asked myself, I just packed out this carton of bird's eye vegetables, and I did it in 1 minute and 55 seconds. So today I'm trying to do it in 1 minute and 45 seconds. So he was constantly striving to do something better than he did the day before. He was always moving to become better, to become the best. And there was no ending in his thinking. Now, at that time, he couldn't have said it that way to me, nor would I have understood it even if he said it, but that's the way it was. So that's what I mean about we get conditioned to think a certain way, and then those things become governors on us for the rest of our lives by accident.
Yeah, they keep us from getting that. Yeah, they keep us from getting that promotion because the guy like Tom gets. And then
we wonder
I think,
why. And then we wonder,
yeah, I've been here longer.
That has with an icon in business, any manager, leader worth his salt, like that has anything to do with why they're going to move somebody up. Right. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
The company, the team, the department is built to serve. Doesn't matter whether it's the end customer or an internal customer. It's built to serve, and they need the right people in the slots, in the spots that are going to make that happen. But speaking on the business front, to give a big business example, so often in executive group meetings, I've done this many times, and we do it in our company, where a lot of times executives, they feel they have to be the visionary. They have to create the vision. But no one mind can ever outproduce the collective vision of 5 minds, 3 minds, 10 minds, or 200 minds, or 1,000 minds. So one of the most powerful things that leaders can begin to understand about the power to create, because one of the things that everybody's always talking about right now in the business world, read business articles, we need a creative workforce. We need an imaginative workforce. Of course you do, especially today more than ever before with the way things are changing. We need different ways to do things, and we need it faster. That can never simply come from one person. Our organization is helping entire executive teams to really open that up and look for the ideas from the people who have the best ideas, which many times it's not the top people in the organization. It's the people that are in the trenches doing the job. And some of the best and biggest breakthroughs in any company happen that exact way. It is naive to think that it only happens from 1 or 2 or 3 people at the top. So I just want us to see that. But how do you and I have a creative workforce if we are constantly recruiting people that lack motivational intelligence, lack mojo. They lack the understanding of the very first underpinning.
Yeah,
Kind of unique and interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen this even just for us, having that kind of underpinning of that belief in the power to create, and then really getting crystal clear about what is success, but what are we trying to accomplish here? It's amazing how much the execution improves. It's amazing how good like the ideas that come out when we're all on the same page of this is what success is for us as a team, the thing that we're trying to accomplish. People's, just like in personal lives, people's mind starts going, and it's amazing what comes up, and people come up with ideas that you're sitting there saying, I would have thought of that. You get so many more heads in the game when you're really all on the same page of this is what success looks like. This benchmark or this milestone that we're trying to accomplish it's amazing. So yeah, clear implications in the business world. The other area I just wanted to touch on was I think there's, especially with this understanding of, and we talked before about people's eyes light up when they're in a state of creation, when they're excited about the future and the direction they're going, the things that they're working on. I think that's such a critical but underserved aspect of mental health. We see so many people, especially over the last couple of years, mental health has become such a huge struggle and issue for people individually, for companies. And I think that's just an area that there's a lot of things, whether it's mindfulness or therapy and all those kinds of things, not that they're not important, but I think being excited about the future and what you're working on and where you're going and being in that state of creation and having your eyes light up, it's hard to feel that way and be depressed at the same time. And it's just a different angle and approach to that really big problem that I think is such an underserved avenue in solving that problem, personally and in businesses too.
In many cases, not the majority of cases, but many times, so way more than you might realize, I'm coaching somebody and they are not excited or they are depressed. And a lot of times somebody could have extreme specialized knowledge and a company will ask our organization to executive coach them because they're out of whack. The very first thing when I begin to help to pull them out of that is ask them slowly, just through very casual conversations, much the way you and I coach and much the way Mojo was built, just in casual conversation about, not about what they're depressed about or not about what they're not happy or not about what's not going right, but what are you excited about for the next couple of years? If everything were to work out perfect, what would you like to see happen? And at first they're, why are you asking me that? And then all of a sudden I just come back, and all of a sudden by just doing that, they begin to come out of that. And it's really amazing to watch, and it's really important to understand. There are people that go through lots and lots of schooling that are highly trained in lots and lots of very powerful and important strategies and insights. But we've had psychiatrists actually sit through our fundamental training and have come out at the end of it and said they're going to change their practice around based upon what they begin to see and understand with the Mojo mindset. Because I remember one in particular talking to a psychiatrist years ago that was in the class, and he had shared that with me. He's going to change his entire practice. And I said, why? And he said, because so much of ours is about helping people to uncover what's causing at that moment in time or in their life that depression or that uncertainty or that anxiety or that insecurity. He goes, but we've never really focused a lot on where they want to go. He goes, we stay here. And he said, when you were explaining that, it just made so much sense to me. And as it does to all of us. And that's because we've all lived enough life to know that there's times when our mojo's on and there's times when our mojo's not. There's times when everything we touch turns to gold. We're like magic makers. And there's times when we can't get out of our own way. And every one of those different states have a reason, a combination. And then there's a master key, a master combination. And that's what the Mojo app is all about. It is a powerful self-discovery. And again, I want to thank everybody that is utilizing the app. And I want to encourage you to make sure you follow sequentially and redundantly each lesson over and over again, because it will reveal itself to you. I actually designed and built it that way with the tremendous help of Sean, so that it's not a lecture, but it's a discovery. Yeah. One other thing I did want to comment on before we wrap up is I wanted to talk a little bit about what causes people to squelch or limit their dreams. What causes people to think in minimums, to dream in minimums? And I use the analogy, one is a habit of thought, right? That was the habit of thought early on as a teenager. And then I met my mentor at a very early age, 21 years old, and he did an exorcism, got that further out of my head than ever before. His whole philosophy, as many of you have heard, was anything you're going to do, you do it to the best of your ability or you don't get out of bed. And it was no joke. It changed my life. That's why I do what I do, because I watched how a knowledge base could be so void from the mainstream vernacular of language and yet be carefully mentored and developed and watch it transform every aspect of my life. And now here, decades later, I'm training literally millions of people throughout the world and having story after story and letter after letter coming in all the time about the profound impact that the development process has had, that Mojo process. But the reason why that happens is because people tend, when you start to really unlock them and set them free, to start exercising their dreaming, their creative imagination. And it's like a muscle. If we're not used to doing that, the old adage, oh, he's a dreamer, she's a dreamer. Yeah, thank God. We all want to be dreamers because that's how we're built. We want to be dreamers. But if your and my dream machine has been busted or broken, it's okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It just is. What matters is that we recognize that's what we've got to work on. We've got to work on thinking about what we want, thinking abundantly, like an Elon Musk. What's the biggest thing we can accomplish? And because that's what gets that burning in the belly. That's what creates the motivation. That's what creates the inspiration. Otherwise, why get out of bed in the morning? That's where that all begins to come in. But the reason why people tend to dream in minimums, and this again is probably one of the 2 or 3 top things in my mind that I wanted to share with everybody today, or help anchor, is that because we tend to dream only based upon who we are. We fail to dream based upon who we can become. And that's why it's important that when we dream with no governors, no restrictions, no barriers. We dream about the most we want, the absolute best that we can accomplish, and the best that we can be. Because that's the beginning. And that, when we give ourselves permission to do that, creates true inspiration, true excitement, true zeal. And when we dream based upon who we are. Sometimes it's hard because even if we have a big thought, a big dream, we'll start rationalizing all the reasons why, oh yeah, but that's not for me, or that's not me, or I can't do that. I know that never happens in anybody's mind. Somebody start to have a dream, but truly it does. But I want you and I to understand that you and I are in control of our mind's not in control of us. We just have to understand it that way. And so when you and I start to dream and we talk about writing down your dreams and beginning to take stock in it, it's important that you do that. You dream abundantly with no barriers, no limits. And to recognize that you and I are constantly evolving and growing. So even if you and I are not good enough to get that big promotion or to get that major raise this week or this month or this year, it does not mean that we're not ever going to have it. In fact, quite the opposite is true. If you and I give ourselves permission to dream it, we can and you will achieve it. And that's the secret. That is the basic beginning of a Mojo mindset. Truly, nothing is more valuable. And I thank everybody for taking the time out of your busy day to spend just a little bit of time beyond the app just to get some additional conversation going. And look forward to more of that in the journey ahead.